welcome to Bentley's Backwards Bushcraft, and this is Richard. It is, 8:15 in the morning.
It's 8:30 by the clock in the house.
Alright, she says 8:30 by the clock in the house. And we are headed to the Tippecanoe River State Park.
Spit it out.
Blah, blah, blah. Now, even though I hope to be able to get some tree time in today, that is not the reason we're going to the state park. I am headed there to meet a gentleman from Kentucky who has a dojo. It's an Aikido dojo, and he has a YouTube channel called Survival Aikido. And we are going to go meet him, and I'm going to train with him today. So let's get on the move. Alrighty, so we're driving through here. All we know is we're supposed to hit the first left.
And take it all the way up.
Yes.
Not quite sure how far all the way up is.
I'm not quite sure where the first left is.
I guess I could pull it up on my phone, but it's funner to just explore because this is what we're going to be doing.
Yes, this is wonderful.
This is what we're going to be doing.
This is a wonderful area. Look at this.
I was going to say, I'll hold the camera if you can roll up my window.
Freestyle where you could actually make it work against formal attacks.
Okay, yes.
And that was the first step.
Yeah.
And so that's what this book is.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess I ought to get that now so we don't forget.
Yeah, I have kind of an advantage because I don't do just Aikido. I also do Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, and Filipino Kali. So I tend to have a... I'm going... Oh, nice.
Wow.
And it's on... but anyway, that's what it was for, really, how to do dojo freestyle so that you could actually make it work.
Okay.
And but it's not. Well, I guess we ought to be talking about this on the video if we're going to do a video.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and sit down. Hello, welcome to Bentley's Backwoods Bushcraft, and this is Richard. So I am here today with John Kilpatrick from Survival Aikido. Make sure everybody goes checks out his channel. And we are going to talk a little bit about his Aikido, and maybe sometime today we'll be able to get out in the woods. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome, awesome. So, if you could explain what got you started in Aikido in the first place?
Oh well, I'm Asperger for one thing.
Okay.
And so I'm uncomfortable trying to relate to people, and partly it was just to make me more comfortable relating to people. That was probably a major thing. I thought there was, Aikido was supposed to teach you ki,
Okay. Yeah.
which they don't. But I wanted to know what ki was. I thought it was something beyond physics, if you wish.
Okay. Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
And I thought it was beautiful. I liked that my body likes that kind of movement.
Okay.
I started off doing judo. That judo was the first thing. Of course, that was back in 1960.
Okay. So judo got you started in the
Judo
martial arts?
was the only martial art around other than high school wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of dojos back then, even if they didn't teach judo, would put signs up that said judo because that was the only thing that people back then understood and knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, so I started off in judo and karate.
Okay.
Really, and then we would see magazine articles with, Black Belt magazine and all, with articles about Aikido, and we started Aikido that way.
Okay. Okay.
And then I just love the Aikido techniques.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm with you 100%. I was always interested in Aikido even before I started training it. Even when I was training the really vicious combat stuff, I still had this draw towards Aikido. And I was lucky enough to find someone who actually taught it. Although it was taught to me kind of violently. I call my Aikido mean Aikido. Mine's mean Aikido, yeah.
Yeah.
A little more realistic with it.
Well, when I first got practiced with Japanese who had studied Aikido, they were college students who had studied Hanbu Dojo.
Okay.
And they were brutal.
Yeah.
They were absolutely brutal. I don't know, I haven't been to Hanbu, I don't know how they practiced there, but these guys, I don't know whether they were trying to prove to, Americans that they were tough or what, but their Aikido was really rough.
Yeah. I think in some respects it kind of needs to be if it's going to be effective.
Well, I agree, but what I also think is that well, for one thing, I'm fragile. I break easily.
You break easy.
And so it was, it broke me up a lot.
Okay.
But, when you're doing katas, which our normal Aikido practice is nothing but katas. I mean, supposedly you do freestyle, but, the dojos I was in. Now, in my dojo, we do freestyle every class.
Yeah.
But in most dojos, they might do freestyle every 4 months or something.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, yeah.
That's because I would encourage them.
Yeah. A lot of times in dojos now, they don't do any real randori at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so continuing with that thought, if I'm volunteering to let you throw me around and I'm cooperating with you, then there's no reason for you to beat me up. If you can't throw me using technique.
Yes.
And this was something, and the Aikido people, when I was in the first club I was in it for a long time, and they couldn't throw me, and I wasn't resisting.
Okay.
And so
they weren't applying any real technique.
They didn't have any real technique, and because they couldn't throw you, then they would try to hurt you.
Okay. Yeah.
And I started in judo. Well, in judo, those guys could really, certainly when you were cooperating, they could really throw you.
Yes.
And then we would randori, and a lot of times you were just dragging the guy to the ground, but sometimes you'd get really nice ippon throws,
Yes.
And I wasn't seeing, here Aikido is supposed to be all this key stuff, and
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing guys, I'd stand there and I'd say, well, why would I fall down? You're not doing anything that would make me fall down. You might break my arm, but but there's no reason for me to fall. And if you were doing, and you talk about it as self-defense, well, if you're doing self-defense, somebody that's not used to what you're doing, it'll never even occur to them to fall down. You'll just break something.
Yeah.
And that's aggravated assault.
Yeah.
You break somebody's bones or break a joint from the law's point of view, that's an aggravated assault. Yeah. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
We think of that, since I've had my both wrists broken and shoulder ripped out and elbow broken and all this, you don't think about it that much. But from the law's point of view, if somebody swings at you and you break his wrist, he did a simple assault and you did an aggravated assault, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
I had that very problem when I had a student come in who had trained in the Philippines, and he trained a very soft style from Tohei, and when he came to
Koichi Tohei?
When he came to me, I told him, I said, okay, do this technique, Ikkyo, whatever it was. I said, do Ikkyo. So he Ikkyo, and I'm standing there like this, and I'm waiting for him to do something, and he goes, you didn't fall down. I said, well, why would I fall down? I still have my balance. I said, you haven't even moved me. He goes, well, at class, they just fall down. I said, well, we got work to do with you, buddy. Well, as a matter of fact, he's my highest ranking student now. as a matter of fact, on the 23rd of November, he's testing for his black belt. And I every once in a while, just to kind of show him how things have changed for him, I'll tell him, I said, you remember how you used to do this old technique? He goes, yeah, I think I remember. I said, do it to me. And he can't do it the fluffy bunny, what I call fluffy bunny Aikido. He can't do it the fluffy bunny way anymore. He just, when he moves me, he really moves me and actually manipulates my body and gets control of me. So you don't have to be mean. When I say mean Aikido, I don't necessarily mean I'm violent and I hurt people. I give you as much as necessary to defend myself, take you down. I will hurt somebody. I won't deny that. I would if I had to. But with the concepts of Aikido, I'm able to manipulate you without hurting you by choice. So I didn't know if that had any way in your philosophy as far as that goes. I mean, hurting not be from their necessity, like if they resist you enough where you have to put pain on them. Because you can do it without pain if they comply to what you're requesting them to do.
Well, my thinking about Aikido, in Aikido classes, in the classes we were in, usually, most of the practice, you started off with a guy grabbing your wrist, yes, or grabbing, yes, usually your wrist, sometimes, yes, your gi, and then you had your formal strikes. You had shomanuchi or yokomen or, yeah, ski. Yes, yeah. But that's what you practice. Yes, yes. And so anyway, I don't, in our clubs, my idea about Aikido is it's a Japanese samurai art. Mm-hmm. Samurais were bladed fighters. Yes. If you were using your Aikido, it's because somehow you were disarmed for some reason. Okay. Something went really, if you were doing an empty hand technique, things went seriously wrong. Okay, yes, I understand that. And yeah. So, to me, basic Aikido is defending against knife attacks. Okay, yeah, I've seen your videos are a lot of the knife and things of that nature. Almost all of it. Yeah. Almost everything. Yeah. And so, and with the guys I practice with, they are very practical, and I'll say, well, grab the guy's wrist if I'm doing a kata to demonstrate something like that. And they'll say, well, that's really stupid. I'm not going to grab your wrist. Yeah, I'd never grab somebody's wrist. I'm going to clobber you. Yeah. And so, what we do a lot is if you grab my wrist, it's because I got a knife in my hand. Mm-hmm. Now I don't carry a knife. I don't fight. Yeah. It's defending a knife. Okay. But that makes a lot of sense then, doing those techniques. Yes. But the techniques that I do are what you call, like the one you showed. Very much like the one you showed against, were y'all doing shomanuchi but where you brushed and hit? Oh, the shomin, yes, the shominates, yes. What I found that technique is, I do it a little differently, but it's basically the same technique, is absolute best technique. Mm-hmm. But in this book, all of them are what in Aikido you call breath power techniques. Yeah, okay, yeah. And Kodogai Ishi can be effective. Actually, I used to teach PE classes, and every semester, at least one student, but usually 2 or 3 students would come back and tell me some story about how they had used the Aikido they were learning. Yep. And it always worked. I only had one case where somebody came back and it didn't work. And that was a girl and somebody attacked her. They stole her purse or something like that. And I said, well, what did you do? She said, your keto didn't work. And I said, well, what did you do? And she said, well, I was too scared to do anything.
Well, that's a good reason why it didn't work, yeah. I didn't apply it, that's why
On the other hand, I didn't feel safe with what was going on. I didn't, they were able to make that stuff work, and usually it was situations where it was other college students and they were drunk or something.
Yeah.
And I think in that situation, probably the kind of techniques, the kind of things they were learning was really valuable.
Yeah.
According to the FBI, 4 out of 5 attacks are simple attacks.
Yeah.
And so people want to shoot, carry your guns and all. Well, a gun, if you actually get in a situation, is only going to be good 1 out of every 5 times. And if you use that gun in those other situations, you're going to prison.
Yeah.
So,
or you're going to die yourself.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But well, if it's a simple attack though, and you use a gun.
Yes. Then you get in trouble because you're excessive
you're
force.
Inappropriately using it.
Yes.
And I'm not against guns at all, but
Yeah.
I'm just. But the same thing with your martial arts, like one of the guys that practiced with me was a dorm counselor. Well, or whatever you call him, the guy that's on the floor there.
Yeah.
And, he would use it, guys would come in drunk,
Yeah.
and he would try to get them to go to bed and shut up and quit bothering people, and they'd swing on him or something. Well,
Yeah.
he'd just throw them down and pin them and hold them till campus security got there.
Yeah.
And it worked great in those kind of settings.
Yeah. I've had to use it a few times in real life situations, and it's always proved pretty effective for me. Yeah. My wife actually used Kotegaeshi once. At her job, somebody got pretty forceful with her trying to break into the building, and she put Kotegaeshi just offered just Kotegaeshi. The police were amazed, and they were like, "Hey, that was really cool,"
Well, sometimes, to my amazement, sometimes maybe after the first class, and you think about it now, and I think in those days I started off with Kotegaeshi. I do it very differently now.
Yeah.
But I would start off with Kotegaeshi. I've got 30 people that don't know anything in a class. It lasts 45, it lasts an hour, but it's really 50 minutes or something. Yeah. And sometimes after the first class, I know a couple of times after the first class, somebody got in a situation where they needed it and they made it work. And to me, they didn't know it at all.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't know. I just felt like, well, if I'm going to spend my whole life studying this, I ought to be able to defend myself against somebody that knows something.
True.
And,
True.
And I just wasn't, maybe I don't, of course I don't have a lot of self-confidence, but I've always thinking, well, I'm just not sure this will work,
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem with self-defense stuff anyway. I think it's a problem in martial arts. I think it's a problem with people who train with guns and all. It's a weapons race. You're never good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all the magazines, gun magazines, and all that stuff. Everybody's always, you've got to get better than you are. You just don't. Here are all these new skill sets you need. And
well, most people, luckily, will never have the opportunity to find out how good they are.
Or they aren't.
Yeah, or they aren't. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of people won't ever have to worry about finding out. And there's a lot of reasons to train martial arts, and Aikido in particular, because a lot of people train Aikido for very, very different reasons than for realistic self-defense. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Well, of course, Yamada, who's head of the USAF, said in one of his interviews, he says it's not a martial art.
Yeah.
So he doesn't pretend. Now, my direct teacher, all my direct teachers consider it a martial art.
Yeah.
But he didn't consider it a martial art.
So could you go through your genealogy of instruction and like who you learned from and so on and so forth?
Of course, Yamada was a ukidashi for O-sensei.
Okay.
And now he wasn't really my teacher, but he was head of that organization. I consider my teacher to be, well, there were two. I started off in Aikido schools of Ueshiba with Satomi Sensei.
Okay. Okay.
And then we worked probably more with Ikeda Sensei. And then one of his students, Dale Matthews, taught our club.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, he was Satomi's student.
Okay. Yeah. I've trained with some instructors from that school up in Fort Wayne. I trained with a guy named Sean Robertson.
It's got a rack on the back like we're going to do.
Okay, Sean Robertson, who trained with the Aikido Ueshiba.
And then our Matter Sensei came to Louisville, and I thought I could get better instruction from him. It had nothing to do with Satomi or Yamada or anything, although their instruction styles are different.
Okay.
Each one has their strengths and I think their weaknesses.
Yeah.
But anyway, our Matter Sensei was very good, and I went and studied with him then.
Okay. Okay. And I was talking to you. This says your 5th Dan, and I remember talking to you. Said that your organization offered you 6th Dan, but you said they probably don't even realize what you're doing at this point.
Well, I didn't really feel complimented by it because I don't know that any of them pay any attention to what I'm doing.
Okay.
But also it cost over $1,000, and I'm not a professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'd rather do other things with my money.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that. Yeah, I had a happenstance actually, just kind of jump off of the story here real quick. My wife and I was actually coming back from my dojo yesterday and was driving down the road and actually seen my instructor, which I haven't seen in several years. I seen him walking down the road, so I stopped off and talked to him for a while, and it looks like Monday he's coming to my dojo and I'm going to get promoted to 4th Dan.
Oh, well, good.
So just jump off the topic a little bit. Do I got something on it?
Yeah, hair or something.
Hair on it? Okay. So I'm excited about that. Is I come from Gozo Shiota.
Right.
Yeah, I come from his line. Gozo Shiota, Thomas Makiyama, and Bandy, and then myself.
Yeah, Shioda's very impressive.
Yeah, yes, very, very. And he takes it seriously. He took it very seriously. Aikido was meant to defend yourself.
Right.
And Thomas Makiyama was a police officer in Hawaii, trained with the police officers and taught Aikido for them. And he took it very seriously as a martial art. And then, of course, Bandy, he took it very seriously as a martial art. I mean, we were rough. He was rough. We got hurt sometimes. Yeah, and I'm actually thankful for that. I mean, I don't know how you fall under that category, but I'm actually thankful that my training was rough and hard. And I've lightened up my Aikido compared to the way it was. It's very effective, but it's definitely not as violent and mean as I was taught.
I don't think that the way I was taught was violent and mean, but like I say, if you're most of the people I practiced with, their techniques didn't really work.
Okay, yeah.
Now, I never resisted. What I was told when I was starting was, well, just relax and go with it and let them throw you.
Yes, completely.
But if they can't throw you, and I relax and go with it, then nothing happens.
Yes.
And when nothing happens, then they try harder.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I find myself doing that too. If it didn't work, then you try harder. But pretty quickly, you have to realize that the problem isn't how hard you're trying, It's that you're not doing it right.
Yes, absolutely.
But it would end up being rough because people would try harder, and they didn't have another way to try it. They would just use all the force they could, and they'd break you.
Yes, yeah. I've been there. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So it wasn't, and I figure it doesn't matter. I mean, I know I would talk to people, and I don't want to call any names, but they would talk about high-ranking people they had practiced with, and they would say, well, boy, he really throws you hard, man. He's tough. And I'm thinking, well, how tough do you have to be to throw somebody hard that's cooperating with you?
Yeah, yes.
That doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah. If you're throwing me hard and beating me up when I'm cooperating with you, that says something very bad about your character, not anything about your martial art.
I see that.
Exactly the way I look at it too.
Yes,
Yes. If I'm cooperating with you, if we're doing a kata, don't hurt me.
Yes.
If you're training,
and even now my judo instructor was one of the top people, and now I'm going to say something bad about him, so I don't want to name him. But he taught us to cheat in judo, and I just think that's really bad. If you're doing a sport.
If it's a sport,
you shouldn't be cheating.
You should abide by the rules.
You should abide by the rules. And
if it's a sport. Now, if it's
it's a sport. I'm talking about judo is a sport.
Well, if you're using it as a sport, yes.
Well, now he also taught combat. He was military.
Yes.
So he taught combat, what he called combat judo as well as sport judo. But in sport, when we went to competitions, he would teach us to cheat.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And that cheating, actually, part of it was really instructive. You know, you're holding on to the gi collar, and he would teach us to hold that really loose and try to hit them.
Okay, I see.
Well, now that makes a lot of sense because, not for sport, but it makes sense because what that really is in judo is you're coming in and coming up and hitting the guy to get the throw.
Yeah.
And so we certainly learned that, but he would do makakomi, of course, as a throw where you're across the.
Okay. Like our rimi?
No. It would be on the same side. So if we were here, it'd be coming across this way.
Oh, okay, I see. Yes.
But he would have us. But he called makakomi when you came down on the guy's chest and tried to break his ribs.
Okay. Yeah.
So he would have. Well, you shouldn't be doing something like that in sport.
Yes.
You shouldn't be trying to hurt your partner.
Not in sport. I agree. I agree.
So. There are things like that go on that are real bad. Anyway, my feeling with Aikido is that what we weren't learning was realistically how to close on the guy. Aikido is essentially grappling. Mm-hmm. You've got to get close to the guy.
Yeah, it's a trapping art.
And we never practiced that. We never practiced somebody really trying to hit us.
Okay. Yeah.
And you really having to close that gap without getting hit. Mm-hmm. Well, so I felt like, I don't know how to. I mean, if you get killed trying to come in, it doesn't matter how good your throws are.
That's true.
So what we spend most of our practice time learning how to get in. We practice the guys attacking us with a training knife, and which I should have gotten out before we started the camera. But,
that's okay. It's got a pause button. I can edit.
But at any rate, so we have people attack us with a training knife. That way, we can really hit you. We don't have to worry about hurting you. And in a Aikido class, the training knives are wood. The training tools are wooden.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them right there.
You can't really try to hit your partner with them. And I know one day at a seminar, recently, I say recently, the last 3 or 4 years or something, my old teacher was teaching a seminar, And he told me to attack him with a bokken and really attack him. Well, I'm not going to really attack him with a bokken, you know. In the first place, I wasn't convinced that he was able to defend himself. I don't think what he does works.
Okay.
I think I would have killed him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kill him.
Yeah.
You know.
I've been hit with a bokken. They hurt. They hurt bad.
Yeah.
They hurt bad.
And same thing, even Tonto's not as bad, but you stab somebody with a knife,
you still
can injure them.
Yes.
And so we use padded weapons where we can really attack. And I know, for like with ski, when in the first club I was in, you know, I would ski and people, and of course we're taught to pivot out of the way, and I think pivoting is one of the two important things in Aikido. But you can't just pivot out of the way of somebody attacking you. It won't work. And I mean, I could always stab them.
Yeah.
I could always hit them. They could never get out of the way. And so my teacher said, well, that's because you know which way they're going to go. Well, and of course he's right about that. We all, you know, at least the people I train with now, they're always trying to get you.
Yeah.
And if they know you're going to go to this side, they won't even pay attention to what you're doing. They go to where they know you're going.
Yes. Well, that's
they don't think about that. That's just what they do.
Yeah. And if you're going to hit somebody for real, that's what you want to do. You don't want to hit where they're at. You want to hit where they're going to be.
Right.
So I mean, if you and I were going to be in a real conflict, I'm not going to punch you here if I know you're going to be standing there. So I'm going to move there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he's right in that, but that's not what was going on. And so we practice a little differently than regular Aikido. We practice more jiu-jitsu style.
Yeah.
That way you can easily move in either direction.
Yeah.
And your partner doesn't know ahead of time.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, what he told me is he said, well, don't really try to hit him. Just go straight.
Yeah.
And don't follow him. Well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, he thinks he's doing something, and yet if I was really trying to stab him, he'd die the first time I came in.
Yeah.
Or worse than that, if I was in a real situation, I would die because I'm not learning how to do something that works.
A false sense of security.
And so
Fluffy Bunny Aikido has a false sense of security really bad.
So we try, I mean, you know, and so what our practice always ends up being an arms race, because we'll figure out a way that works for all the attacks we're doing, and then we try to figure out attacks that'll beat what we're doing.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so it's a never-ending arms race. You never get there.
Which is what makes you better.
So,
in my opinion, is what makes you better. Yeah. Absolutely. So I would actually love to see some of this, like actually work some of this with you.
Well, I would like to see what you think about what I'm doing. It's very similar to the one that you showed on that video recently.
Okay. All right.
We found, you know, just a few, you know, there's not a lot of things that'll actually work to get you in. At least we haven't found a lot.
Yeah. Well, I don't use strict Aikido. Mine, I kind of, since I have a background in other martial arts, I tend to draw from those martial arts when I feel Aikido lacks in a certain aspect. And as far as, especially with knife techniques and things of that nature, I don't do a lot of knife techniques because in my experience with real life, there's only two types of people that fight with knives. The person that's going to kill you no matter what you do, and the person that has absolutely no idea what he's doing, and he's pretty easy to defend. So you've got those two people. The people that
tiny squirrels. Sorry.
The type of person that's you're going to easily be able to defend against, and the person that it doesn't matter what you do, he's going to kill you, or you're going to get cut bad. So we don't deal with a lot of knife aspects of it, which makes me even more enthusiastic about what you do, because you work almost specifically with knife stuff. So I'm really curious to see that. And because I think Aikido lacks in that respect, and when I get a weapon in my hand, I automatically tend to focus on the Filipino Kali side of my training, because that's knives, sticks, and swords. So I tend to lose a little bit of my Aikido and move into my Filipino martial art.
Now, I don't carry a knife.
I carry at least 4.
I don't. Well, here's
funny, he hands one to me every now and then, and I'm like,
I carry 4 on me at all times.
well, now here's my well, I don't know. I don't like carrying stuff.
Yeah.
You know, for one thing.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to, I'm elderly, you know, when I go for walks and stuff, I carry a cane.
Yeah.
Or a Joe.
Well.
If I'm in this kind of environment, I carry a Joe. If I'm in town, I carry a cane.
Yeah.
Which I use the way you do things. If I have a knife and somebody's attacking me with a knife, suddenly they get very defensive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, but that's what they do. So that makes it hard for me to do my techniques.
I see your
So
point.
it's
Absolutely.
much easier if I don't have a knife.
Yes.
Or
No,
at least
yes.
if I have it, if he doesn't see it.
Yes, I absolutely see that aspect of it. Yes.
So, and I think you can see what you think. I'm anxious to see what you think, but I think the techniques that I do will stop somebody.
Yeah.
So, you know, to me, I'm pretty sure you'll like it because it's almost identical to what you do.
Well, that's awesome. Awesome. I'm excited. I really.
There's some differences. Maybe they're minor and maybe they're not, but it's very close to what you do.
Awesome.
So.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break real quick, and then we'll continue on.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Very much. I do take a lot of interest in what you're doing. Really, it's enthusiastic to me. I'm going to go put this in the van real quick,
Okay.
and then I will come right back.